Hello friend, welcome back. In this video, I want to work with another class as a list view class. So if you want to working with this list view class, first of all, into the view area, we have to import our this class. So before we have used our template view, so now I want to show all list data. So they have also one of the building class as a list view. So I just simply load it. Okay, friend. So now I want to get all the data from our database table. So to the database table, I have already created one of the database table as a musician, and into the musician, they have some of the data. I want to display it in our home page. So for doing this better, I want to update our page. That means here into the template area, I want to create one of the new page, and I just name it as a base. So it should be just like that same before. I take one of the base HTML. Right, so into the base HTML, it should be just like if you go to our main template. So here I have already added our all the CSS and the JSS. I have already created one of the blog body, right? That is our and blog. So better I want to copy everything. I just simply copy everything from here, and now in our template, in our fast application template, and here I just simply save it, and I just make the things as a PHP. So that is the Python, and that is a PHP. So now here we don't need to do anything because of all I think you already know about it. What exactly the things I did on here, I just load our CSS, I load that our bootstrap JS file, and here I define some of the blog ID, that is our body blog, and that is our navbar, right? So right now I only want to take one navbar, and into this position, that is our URL. For into the URL area, I have already defined our app name as a fast app. So with this fast app, I want to load our this path, that means our home path. I just name this path as the index. So with this our name app, right? So with this name app, I just simply define our URL name as index. Perfect. And also here I have defined our body, that means the body block. So if you go to our index, so here we have to also extend it, right? So we did that work. If you go to the template, if you go to any other pages like here album list, so here we have to actually add two of this. They extended our fast app than the base HTML. So right now we don't need anything. I just simply remove it, and also I just simply remove it. Okay. So here I have to also and it, so that means the and block. So I just simply copy, and then after this I just simply added that and block. So I think you already know about it, right? So here if you now display your h1 tag, into the h1 tag I have already passed some of the context data. So here I pass it. So from here pass it as a sample one. So now if you display it, there is another one as a 2. Right, so that is our another one as a sample text 2. So now if you want to visible it, now click on the save all. Now go to your index, click on the refresh. Yeah, now you can see it's now perfectly getting our navbar, that means our bootstrap navbar, that is a home, and that is our sample text. Perfect. So now in particular that position I want to load our all that list data. That means here that is our musician table. From our musician table I want to get this data and visible it on here. So for doing this we have to work in our class area. So now go to our view. So that is our base HTML, we don't need this. HTML album list, we don't need this. Now go to that our view, into the view area. So right now I just remove everything. Okay, so I just simply remove everything. So now I want to get all the data from our models, right? So into the model area I have already defined all the data, that means the musician, and from to the musician table, that's here they have the first name, the last name, and the instrument, right? So now I want to first of all load our this model. So that is in our fast app, and that is our model. So we have to first of all load it. So here I just simply define as a form, and then our fast app, and from to the fast app I want to import our which data I want to input our models, right? So I just simply define as the models. So that is our fast application, into the fast application, and that is our models. So I just simply import our these models. So now I want to show that list view. So for that list view, they have also one of the building class as a list view. So I have already defined that list view. So now I want to create our class. So that is our class as a, I name it as index view, and here that will be inherited our this class. That means the list view class. So I just simply define as a list view. Now here we have to define the same things as a model. right? Into the model, here we have to pass our models. So with these models and our model name, so into the model area, I have defined that our model name as a musician. So I just simply copy it, and then I just simply define our model name. And after that, also you have to display our this index. That means this index. So here we have to pass it. So if you want to pass it, then you have to pass that things with the template name, right? That is a template name. And here we have to pass our template name. So that is in our templates, that is our fast apps folder. Into the fast app folder, that is our index.html. So I just simply define as a fast, okay, fast app, and into the fast app, that is our index.html. So I just simply define that name. And also here we have to pass all that our data. That means which data actually I want to get from our musician table. That means musician table, all the data I want to get it, and I want to pass it in our index.html page. So if you want to pass it, then you have to define that things as a context object. That means the context underscore object. Okay, I name it as a context object name. So with this context object name, you can pass it. So I just want to pass it with the musician list, whatever the name you actually choose. So now I am actually using that musician list. So now with this musician list, we can actually display all that musician data from our table, right? So from our table, so from our musician table, and I get all the data. So now I want to visible it into the index page. That means index.html with this musician list. So now go to our index.html. So here we don't need this. I just simply remove it. And here, first of all, I want to take one of the UL. Okay, I take one of the UL. So into the UL area, first of all, here we have to load our for. That means the for loop. So I just simply define our for. So it should be just like that same before. Here we have to define that name as a musician, whatever the name you actually choose. So here you have to define as in whatever the data, I just pass that things from our class. So that is our context. That means the context object class name, I have defined that name as a musician list, right? So now with this musician list, we actually get all the data, and I just define that things with this musician. So after that, so here after that also you have to AND it. So better I want to AND our for. So I just simply define as AND for. And now here I define as a ALI. Into the ALI area, I want to display our I want to display our musician, all that name. So there is a musician. With this musician, I want to display our database field name. Our database field name I have defined as a first name, last name, and the instrument. So now I just simply define as a first name, and also I want to display our last name. So right now I want to actually display two of these as a first name, and also our another field name as a last name. So I just simply define as a last name. Okay, friend. So that's all you have to do. Now if you click as a save all, so here I display our first name, and I also display our last name with the musician list. I get all the data from our class. And also that is our that means for loop. Into the for loop, I have used it with the musician. So there is a musician first name and musician last name. So now first of all, I want to check it, everything is running well. Now go to our home, click as a refresh. So now they have some the error as a fast app musician list does not exist. It's not exist because of all. If you go to our view, into the view, I have defined that name. That is the perfect. With the model, into the models, I get all the data from a musician table. There is a template. You can see that's a spelling mistake. It should be as a template underscore name. Okay, that means that with this template name here, I have to pass our this name. That means the fast tab and the index.html. So now let's check this out. Click as a save all, and now refresh it. Yes, now you can see, friend, now it's appropriately get all that our view list. So that is our musician. Into the musician, they have the three data right now. So these three data, you read it and also visible it in our index page. How much easy it is, you can see how much easily you can actually now display it. So make that sure you actually know about all that functionality. So with this, you can pass your name, that means the context object name, whatever the name you will to pass in our index page or whatever the page area, you have to declare that things with this name. And then with this model, I get all the data from our models table. And then if you want to load some of the template, then you have to load it with the template name. And here I have already defined that our folder name as a fast app, and that is our index.html. So into the index.html, I pass our this context object data. That means here I have passed it. So for the reasons here, you can see into the index, I just simply define as a for each. So with this musician list, I name it as a musician. So with this musician, I display our first name, the last name. If you want to display, installment, then you can also display it. So now you can see it's now perfectly visible. It's better if you want to add some of the spaces. I want to add some of the pending top, like here in our base HTML. If you go to that base HTML, here that is our container. So here I want to define one of the style, and into the style I define as a padding top. So I just simply define as a padding top, and here I take as a 20 pixel. So I just simply define as a 20 pixel. Now click as a save all, and now refresh it. Yeah, you can see it's now perfect. So friend, that's how you can actually display your all that view list. So with this view list class, so with this list view class, you can actually display your all that list view from your database, right? So that's how you can actually do it. So previously we have defined that things with the functions. Now we are discussing about the same things with the class, right? So next video I'm to discuss about the details view. Like that is our list view. So here if you click as a Kazarian, and it should be redirected to our another page with the details information. So how can display it in our next video? I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.